Good day, my name is Park Ranger Michael Callahan. Welcome to this segment of History from St. Paul's, as we continue to explore the lives of the people and stories associated to our site. Today, we'll be discussing the life and times of Major Charles Turnbull, a veteran of the American Revolution, whose final resting place is St. Paul's Churchyard. Charles Turnbull was born in 1753 in Kingston-on-Thames in Surrey, England. He was the son of Peter, a tailor, and Anne Hollis Turnbull. Charles immigrated to Pennsylvania sometime in 1774 or 1775. He was one of a number of British subjects who immigrated to 13 colonies in this time period due to either discontent with affairs in the British Isles or to just find a better way of life. Thomas Paine, the future revolutionary orator and author of Common Sense, also immigrated to Philadelphia in 1774. Within a short period of time, Charles Turnbull became active in the revolutionary cause, and in 1775 enlisted in Proctor's Company of Artillery, formed that year in Philadelphia after the outbreak of fighting at Lexington and Concord. The artillery, along with the engineers, were considered by all armies at that time to be their scientific arm. Geometric and mathematical calculations were required in order for the artillerymen manning the guns to deliver accurate fire to the enemy. Proctor's Company was initially assigned to the Philadelphia area to defend Fort Island. But in the spring of 1776, for a short period of time, Proctor's men were serving aboard the Continental ship Hornet. Charles Turnbull's education and technical expertise enabled him to be promoted to sergeant by November 1775. In October 1776, he was promoted to lieutenant. Proctor's Company itself was expanded to battalion strength and then regimental strength, with 8 companies assigned by early 1777. Elements of the regiment fought at Trenton and Assunpink Creek. Turnbull, in the meantime, had been promoted to the rank of captain lieutenant, being second in command of a company. On 13 April 1777, General Charles Cornwallis, with 4,000 British and Hessian troops, attacked General Benjamin Lincoln's Continental outpost in Bound Brook, New Jersey. The attack resulted in the withdrawal of Lincoln's men and the capture of 70, one of whom was Captain Lieutenant Turnbull. As an officer, Turnbull would not be confined to one of the infamous prison ships moored in the New York area. He would be placed on parole and allowed to live in relative comfort with freedom of movement in certain areas until he was exchanged for a British officer of equal rank. Parole meant that Captain Lieutenant Turnbull gave his word to the British authorities he would not try to escape or engage in any type of espionage against the Crown forces until properly exchanged. This is the normal procedure utilized by the armies of Europe in the 18th century. But in America, the Crown forces did not want to be seen as recognized in the Continental Army as a legitimate military force. They regarded them as traitors, and the exchange system was utilized sporadically for a period of time. This resulted in Captain Turnbull being confined to the New Flatbush area of Kings County, also known as Brooklyn, for 3 years. He did, however, live in relative comfort in accordance with his rank and position as an officer. Charles Turnbull was finally exchanged in 1780, where he joined his regiment, now designated as the 4th Continental Artillery Regiment. He had been promoted to captain during his confinement, and also met Miss Phoebe Bloom, a descendant of one of the early Dutch settlers in New Netherland. They were married in February of 1781. Elements of the 4th Continental Artillery served the siege of Yorktown in the fall of 1781, with Captain Turnbull likely present for both the siege and the surrender of General Cornwallis. And he also served one of the 4th companies assigned to General Nathaniel Greene's forces in the Carolinas after Yorktown. Captain Turnbull was furloughed to the Continental Army in June of 1783. With the final withdrawal of the British Army from New York City in November 1783, he returns to the area to begin his life as an independent United States. Charles and Phoebe made their permanent home in Brooklyn. They raised a family, and he made his living as a farm owner of 150 acres of land in the village of Bedford. The farm produced grain, a much-needed source of food in the New York area, as well as outlying areas. But a 150-acre farm also required a large labor force, and a part of Turnbull's workforce consisted of 7 slaves. Thus, Charles Turnbull became one of a number of former Continental officers who were unable to recognize the discrepancy between fighting for and forming a Republican government and owning slaves. Turnbull had come far since his arrival in North America in 1774. He had served honorably as an officer in the Continental Army and married into a prominent Brooklyn family, becoming a successful and prosperous farm owner. Turnbull was granted the brevet rank of major in 1787 and also became a charter member of the Society of Cincinnati, a fraternal organization composed of former officers of the Continental Army. Membership in the society enabled Turnbull to develop professional associations with other officers who are now prominent leaders in public life in the New York City area. Governor George Clinton appointed Turnbull as the Inspector General of the New York Militia, as well as Sheriff of Kings County between 1789 and 1791. Although Charles was enjoying the fruits of his labors, he was struck by tragedy in 1791 when Phoebe died of complications of pregnancy. Charles married Mary Lefferts, another member of a prominent New York family, shortly thereafter. This type of remarriage, after the death of his spouse, was common in the 18th century. Turnbull soon sold the farm in Brooklyn and was the village of Eastchester, later known as Mount Vernon. Charles Turnbull passed away in 1795 at age 42. He was buried in St. Paul's Churchyard. His grave marked an impressive sandstone marker. Thank you for being with us today. Please join us again next week for more history from St. Paul.